Okay, we're back to how to determine profitable Facebook ads. So the reason why we want to calculate this is to see if the niche or the market we're going into will be profitable for us and for our client. Some niches or some products are not profitable, and this is the reason why we want to do this calculation prior to deciding to go and do any Facebook campaign ads for our client or even for ourselves. So let's talk about the key performance indicators in this case. So we're going to talk about first cost per click. So as you can see, I kind of lay down the definition of all of these. These can be found on Facebook too. So cost per click is basically how much we spend for each click received on the ad. So anytime that somebody clicks on our ad, how much that's costing us. Click-through rate is basically percentage of people who see the ad and click on it. And cost per lead, and this is only for lead generation, for lead gen, is a function of cost per click and click-through rate. And this is only needed if we're doing a lead gen. So we will go more into math behind this later in this video. Then we have a conversion rate on our landing page. So basically when anytime somebody clicks on our ad, we want to take them somewhere, and usually that place is called a landing page. In this case, that tells us that percentage of people who go to landing page and opt in. So in the case of lead gen, what this means is that, for example, if we have showed our ad to 1,000 people and 250 of them clicked on the ad. Sorry, that's a wrong example. Let me simplify math here. Let's say we showed our ad to 1,000 people and 100 of them clicked on our ad. And then out of those 100, 25 opt in for something that we want to have them opt in for. That's basically what the percentage is. So out of those 100 people that have landed on our website, 25% of them opt in. Conversion rate on sales page or calls is the percentage of people who go to sales page and buy, or the people that we call and then they buy from us. This is a little bit more complicated, and the calling part, because that's not something that we can track. You would have to trust the client that you're working with to give you exact numbers on the sales that they have closed based on the information and leads that you have sent to them, in order for them to be able to call that person back and get them to buy. And now we come to two major metrics, which is average order value. So average order value is basically the cost of your product. So in lead gen, let's say that you're trying to promote a certain service that it's $100. Let's say in the case of chiropractor, right? So let's say that the usual adjustment that chiropractors do is $200. Well, now we are promoting that they're going to give 50% off, and now it's costing 100. Well, the average order value in this case is $100. However, in the e-commerce world, where we're selling multiple products, average order value would be the sum of all the values divided by the number of the products. So if we have 3 products that we're selling, and together they all cost, let's say, together with the different prices, they all cost $120, and we divide that by 3, our average order value in that case would be $40. There is something also, there's another metric called life value of a product, which we will not go into, but basically that goes more into more complicated funnels, where we sell one main product and then we try to upsell the customer on another product, or if they do not, for example, buy what we're trying to upsell them on, then we try to downsell them or on something else. Either way, the average order value in that case is a variable number. So what we want to do, we just want to go with the initial price of the product for us to be able to calculate it better. So, and the cost per acquisition is literally as what it sounds. It's the total cost to acquire one paying customer. So that includes the ads that we run and everything else that goes into that we want to calculate. So uh, I forgot to mention that average order value, what it's going to come down to is going to be a total revenue divided by number of customers. Wait a sec. Yeah, so basically that will be how many products did we sell divided by the number of customers. So let's say in the case of 3 products that I gave example for, is that if we have sold um, 3 products and we had 1 customer, right? Our average order value in that case would be $120. You remember, 3 products costed $120. But if we have sold 3 products to 3 different customers, our average order value would be $40. So this is the number that's gonna uh, go back and forth. What you always want to start with is 1-to-1 ratio. That means 1 customer, 1 product, or 1 customer, 1 service. That's going to be the easiest way for you to calculate average order value. And let me now show you why these metrics are really important. First 3 metrics are important to ad optimization. So later when we get to the ad optimization, these metrics will show extremely important because cost per click, click-through rate, and cost per lead will show us how successful our copy, our headline, our creative is, and how good our audience insight is, and how good we did in targeting that audience. So if you recall what I was saying regarding the creating a perfect customer, determining the niche, determining the market, and all of that, this is where that's going to play a role. Basically, how good are we targeting someone with our ads and how engaging they are with that ad. So that's going to help us later down the road with ad optimization. 2 other metrics that we mentioned are relevant to funnel optimization. So that means once we send someone from our ad to our landing page, how good our landing page is. Lower conversion rates in case, let's say, lead gen. So we're sending, let's say, out of 100 people, we send uh, out of 1,000 people that have seen our ad, 100 clicked on it, and out of those 100 who have seen our landing page, let's say 10 only opt in. That's a problem. That's telling us, for example, that the low number of people who have opt in, that means that our landing page is not doing what it's supposed to do. Again, this training is not about the landing pages, but just understand that your landing page has to be conversion rate optimized. I will mention a couple of resources that you can look into to get more information about conversion rate optimization of your landing pages, but just know that it's extremely important when you're sending the traffic to your landing page. On the other hand, uh, you have conversion rate on sales page or calls. Again, extremely important when it comes to the landing page. It does take a different shape when we're talking about our customers submitting their information, so we can, sorry, not customers, potential leads submitting their information to us with their phone number so we can reach out to them. But basically the rule stays the same. We want to create a landing page so that they feel enticed to provide us with the information that we need from them, or for them to purchase the product that we're trying to sell. Lower number of sales, lower number of information provided indicates the problem with our funnel. And now we come to those two major metrics. And how do we determine that our ad is profitable? So as you recall, we mentioned AOV, which is average order value, and then we mentioned CPA, or cost per acquisition. So the math is very simple. If our average order value, meaning the total revenue divided by the number of customers, is higher than what we have invested in our ads, then our ad is profitable. On the flip side of that, if our average order value is less than what we have invested in our ad, which is cost per acquisition, then our ad is not profitable and we need to look into why. Okay, so this is why these metrics are extremely important, and why we even looking at them. So let me give you an example here. So I'm going to jump here and you will be able to download this file that will help you determine if your ad is profitable or not. Just know that these things are not set in stone. Whatever your profitability on your end could mean something different. But this is again just the framework that can help you determine, uh, do you need to change something with your ad? What is it that you need to change and how to go about it? Okay, so let's look at our lead gen example here. If you don't have so if you never ran an ad before and you don't have this information, usually the benchmark for the industry when it comes to lead gen is that there's a 25% conversion rate on lead page. So if you remember, I was giving an example of having 1,000 impressions on our ad. So that basically means 1,000 people saw our ad, 100 of them clicked on the ad, and 25 opt in for whatever is it that we were offering. So that's a 25% conversion rate on our lead page. Basically means that 25 people out of 100 provided us with the information that we asked of them. So let's say that in our case we have a lead to sale conversion of 1.74%. So what does this 1.74%, I apologize, percent means? That means how many people in the percentages out of 25% leads converted into buying customers. So just know that this is the first step. So this is the people who have clicked on our lead funnel, they opt in. These are the people in the next step that have purchased something. So let's say in a lead gen example, let's say that out of 25 people that have opted in to receive a coupon of $100 to have our chiropractor do their adjustment, right? That only, I know this is not going to make sense, but like mathematically, but let's say one or two people out of those 25 basically purchased. Actually, that's wrong. I apologize. Let me see. 25%. Bear with me here for a second. I think you understand where I'm getting with this, but let me just do really quick math here. Maybe that's a wrong example of, because the numbers are so low. Uh, let's take. Sorry, I apologize. I think the 120, the 100 customers and 25 those who opted in, it's too low for us to make a sense out of this. Let's give a different example. Let's say we had that 25% is the 1,000 people who have opted in for something, and out of those 1,000 people, we got uh, we got, let's say 1.7. So let's say two people, or 17 people to opt in to buy our product. So out of 1,000 that have opt in for something, 17 purchase that product. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, I took way too low numbers for this to make sense, because 1.74% out of 25% of whatever that number is, it would be way too low for us to show that in a chiropractic case. So just know that if we had 1,000 opt-ins, we got 17 people to actually buy. Okay, So let's say in this case that our average order value of that was 14.95. Let's say for this case of this, we're going to round it off to 1500, right? So to have that 2-to-1 ratio of return, so basically means if we spend $100 on ads, we want to see $200 back, we have to divide our uh, average order value of 1500 by 2. Okay, I hope that makes sense. How about this? Let me change this to 1,000. That's going to change things a little bit better. It's going to be easier to follow. So if our average order value of whatever is it that we're selling is $1,000, and we want to know what our cost per acquisition is, and we want to satisfy the requirement of having 2-to-1 ratio in order to be profitable. Again, that's just for me. You can have your ratio being 1.5 to 1, 1.10 to 1. It all depends what you consider being profitable. But let's just say that in the eyes of your client, at least what you can do for them is try to give them 2-to-1 ratio return on their investment. So if they're investing $100 in ads, you want to give them $200 worth of business. If they're investing $10,000, you want to give them $20,000 worth of business. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, that means in this case that I'm just going to change this here to say 174. So that means that for 100 customers, we need 5,747 leads. And the way we get that number is by dividing 100 by 1.74. That's what's going to give us this number here. Okay. Now, knowing that, okay, now we know that for total ad spend per 100 customers, we have to spend $50,000, right? In order to generate 100 customers, right, we have to spend in ad $50,000. And how did we calculate that? Well, we know that our cost per acquisition is $500, and we know that we're trying to calculate how much it would cost for 100 customers. So customers times cost per acquisition 500 gives us $50,000. Keep in mind that this is where we're saying acquisition. This is where we're trying to calculate how much is going to cost us in ad spend to generate 100 customers. We're talking about paying customers, the one that purchase our product. Having that number, now we can calculate how much is going to cost us to generate a lead. Okay, remember the lead is anyone who goes on our landing page. Okay, so just know that. So here it is. Now we're going to calculate that the total ad cost divided by the total number of leads is going to give us the number of cost per lead. So in this case, we have total ad cost is 50,000 divided by 5,747. That gives us the cost per lead is 8.70. So now we need to figure out how many clicks do we need in order to generate these 5,747 leads, of which we're going to generate 100 customers, right? So the way we're going to do that is that we're going to take the number of leads and we're going to divide that by the conversion rate. So in this case, the number of leads is going to be 5,747. And when we divide that number by 25, we get 22,989 number of clicks that we need on our ad in order to generate 5,747 leads in order to generate 100 customers. Okay, so now from all of this, it's easy to calculate cost per click, right? So we know that we need 22,989 clicks, and we also know that the total ad spend for 100 customers is going to cost us $50,000. That means that our cost per click is going to be total ad spend divided by number of clicks needed which basically comes down to $2.18. So in this case, that means that we can spend $2.18 per one click. Okay, just keep that in mind. Here are the steps that I'll outline that, and here I put in the little note. Now we know maximum allowed cost of our cost per click in order for our ad to be profitable. Basically meaning that if we are to have 2-to-1 ratio, we have to keep the cost per click up to or under $2.18. Just know that the ad spend of $50,000 will generate the revenue of $100,000. Okay? Because if we sell 100 products per, we sell 100, we have 100 customers who purchase product for $1,000. We know that we're gonna have a revenue of $100,000, and if our cost is $50,000, that means that we're have profit of $50,000. Okay, let's look into the e-commerce now. In e-commerce, it's pretty similar. Okay, it's a little bit more complicated in the terms of cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold is something that you have to take into account if you are selling the physical product. So cost of goods sold is basically how much did it cost you to produce this product, to make this product, right? So we want to have the 2-to-1 return, and we want to calculate how much can we afford to pay cost per click. Okay, so in this case, we're going to keep also things simple. We're going to be very conservative in case if you do not have these numbers, how much is your conversion rate of sales page? Please be conservative, go with 1% because usually that's the industry standard. But if you do have these numbers, make sure that you enter your number in here. So let's say we're selling a product for the sake of the argument and ease of this calculation that cost $100. Let's say that it cost us $20 to make that product. Okay? So just remember those two numbers. Now, because we want to have that 2-to-1 ratio of profitability and return, we're going to divide, same way we did it with the lead gen example, we're going to divide average order value by 2 to get the cost per acquisition, right? So our cost per acquisition is whatever is the number when we divide average order value by 2. However, as you're going to see here, I have included the COGS, right? We have to keep that in our mind. We have to keep in mind that this number is still included here. So we want to get rid of that number. And we do that by subtracting COGS, cost of goods sold from cost per acquisition, which leaves us with cost per acquisition net, which is $30. That means that at this point, we have $30 to acquire a customer, one customer. Well, 3% is a click-through ratio. And if you remember, the click-through ratio is going to be percentage of people who see the ad and click on it. Okay, so when it comes to selling products, the industry standard is actually 3%. So when you're selling a product and somebody sees your ad, 3% of those people will click on your ad and go to your landing page. Okay, so click-through ratio is 3%. However, if you do have your own number and you know that what your click-through ratio is, please enter that number in here. So in this case, we see that cost per click is basically cost per acquisition times conversion rate of sales page. Okay, so out of these 3%, we know that only 1% will convert. You remember, we had a similar example with lead gen. We knew that out of 25%, only 1.74 will convert into paying customers. In this case, out of 3% of those, and we don't know what that number is in the sense, is it 100, 1,000? 1% will purchase. Okay, which leaves us with the fact that we can spend 30 cents on cost per click. Again, this goes back to, is this ratio satisfied? In this case, it is. Okay, well, how can you change this? Like I said, these are very conservative numbers, and they only serve the purpose of this training. I want to show you that this is the bare minimum, right? If you have 1% conversion rate of your sales page, that's a bare minimum. But just know that that's a industry standard, industry average. So we want to make sure that we understand that. Well, your cost per click can go up if you increase your conversion rate of the sales page, okay? Or if your click-through ratio also goes up. So this is why it's extremely important for us to know these metrics, is because it helps us determine what do we need to improve, where do we need to concentrate our efforts on, where are we going to get the most ROI. Do we need, in this case, do we need to do anything with our creative, right? If we're seeing low click-through ratio, that indicates that our creative is not good. If we see low conversion rate on our sales page, that indicates that our maybe lead page, or sorry, sales page is not good enough. It's not enticing. The offer we have, it's not drawing the people to buy. So we need to look into all of those things. But just know that once you look into these numbers and once you start tracking them, it will be much easier for you to know what do you need to change, where you need to change it, and when do you need to change it. Okay, so that's that's really important. That's why we want to calculate all of those things. So you will find this formula and calculation in below these videos. You will be able to download it, plug in your numbers. The formulas are already available for you, so you don't need to change anything. Again, as always, if you have any questions around this, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to help you around this. Okay, I hope all of this makes sense. Uh, Please play around with it, especially if you have your own numbers, see where you land. Again, this is not set in stone. This ratio of 2 to 1 is just what I would go for. But having a ratio of 1.75 to 1, 1.5 to 1, it could be good enough for you. Again, it will all depend on the situation that you're in and what you're trying to achieve. Okay, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.